And I'll go through that whole spiel once again and make sure that there is nobody still in the waiting room trying to get in. So let me just double check that. Looks like there's no one in the waiting room right now. So we'll just wait a couple minutes, see if anybody else shows up, and then I'll run through it one more time. Looks like we got one straggler, so just go through again. We're going to be beginning the gathering in just 2 minutes, I guess 1 minute now. And just some norms for our meeting. As presenters are talking, just try to mute yourself and minimize the background noise. If you're asked to unmute and there is time for that, then feel free. But as a standard practice, stay on mute. If you have any questions, once again, direct them toward me, whether they're a tech issue question or something that you need answered off to the side. You can feel free to chat that to me, and just be aware the meeting is being recorded. So I will kick it on over to Ruth for an introduction, and we'll get underway.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeremy, and welcome everybody. Jeremy just taught me how to change my name signature so that I could add the group that I'm representing, in my case, Racial Justice Rising. And if any of you want help in doing that, just raise your hand. And okay, Kim, and the couple. So Jeremy, could you just run through that really quickly?
Absolutely, yeah. So it is, you can do it in 2 ways. I think the easiest way is to go down to the bottom bar of the screen where it says participants and click on that so that you see a sidebar of everybody in the meeting. And then find your own name and click on more. And then once you click on there, you should see a choice to say rename. And then you can rename yourself. So once again, you click on participants down at the bottom, find your name in the list, click more, and click rename.
Great, thank you so much. So
if anybody has any issues with that, you can feel free to chat me and I'll try to explain it again.
So yes, welcome to the second gathering. There was for those of you who were at the first gathering, and all of you should have gotten the notes whether you were there or not. I hope you did. For those of you who were at the first gathering, you know that there was a real enthusiasm about meeting again. Some folks even wanted to meet within a month, and we said, whoa, we need a little more time to put that together. So here we are for the second gathering. And the agenda items, in case you're wondering where they came from you, from the folks at the first gathering. We ended the meeting with a little brainstorm about the issues that we'd like to see addressed, and then I think 1 or 2 came subsequently in email as well. So here they are. So let's begin with introductions. Alan, do you want to handle this, please?
Hey, thanks, Ruth. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see some people that I know out there. Actually, I can't see everybody, but that's okay. So Ruth, why don't you start by just saying who you are and your the group, and maybe you already did that. I'm not sure, but
I don't remember. I'm Ruth Bowman. And I'm on, I represent Racial Justice Rising, and I'm on what we call our core team or our coordinating council. I'm not quite sure what we call it. And I'm glad to be here.
Thanks. And I will just follow that. I'm Alan Davis, and I'm also on the coordinating committee of Racial Justice Rising. And just to keep it simple, I'm just going to call on people. Emily? Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
We can't hear you, Emily.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, I'm Emily Green, and I'm also on Racial Justice Rising's coordinating committee, and that's it.
Thanks. And Kim, nice to see you. You have to. Yep.
Hi, I'm Kim Audette. I am part of the Sunderland Human Rights Working Group. I'm glad to be able to join you tonight.
Great to have you, because I know you couldn't make it at the first meeting. And Danielle.
So hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Cantor-Yelowitz. I'm the chair of the Greenfield Human Rights Commission. Sorry I missed the first meeting. I'm happy to be here this evening.
Thanks. Good to have you. Lou. Hi there.
Hi, I'm Lou. I'm with the Deerfield Inclusion Group and the Sunderland Human Rights Task Force, and I'm also sitting on the Anti-Racism and Equity Task Force at the Frontier Union 38.
Wow, great.
And Anne Marie.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Melcher, and I'm a member of the Tikkun Olam Circle at Temple Israel in Greenfield. And we are pursuing at many different levels racial justice.
Thank
Great.
you. And Anna.
Anna Georgie, Trap Rock Center for Peace and Justice. I work on the communications coordination, newsletters, website, that stuff.
Hey, thanks, Anna.
Mhm.
And Cheryl.
Hi, everyone. I'm with Racial Justice Rising Coordinating Committee as well. I live in Charlemont and I am active in the church in Ashfield.
Hey, thanks, Cheryl. Have I missed anybody? Okay.
I'm Jeremy. I do the tech coordinate.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
That's
Sorry, Jeremy.
I think they already knew that, but it's fine. I'm Jeremy.
All right. So, Ruth, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yeah,
And
Well-
I'll just, yeah, go ahead.
well, we want to give the folks who were not here, not folks, but groups that weren't here or weren't represented at the first gathering, a couple minutes, literally 2 minutes each. I know it's not a lot of time, to tell us about your group or organization and the work that you do, your mission and goals. So I think we'll begin with Kim. Kim, Sunderland Human Rights Watch wasn't here last time, right?
Yes, thank you. We're glad to be invited to join this group. We're about a 2-year-old group that Alan helped us start. And we looked at the need in Sunderland and the interest, and we're a small, I guess, core group of about 8 to 10 people who've been meeting pretty regularly over the last 2 years to talk about how to help people in Sunderland and Deerfield, educate them in terms of racial justice issues, to support people who are dealing with racial justice issues, and also to help refer them to support and resources that they need. Some of the things we've done are have book readings for the public. We have done, we're actually going to be doing a film for MLK Day this year, and we're going to be hosting I Am Not Your Negro by Alan Baldwin to present to the community with either to watch it with us or watch it before and then to discuss it afterwards. So you can put that on your calendars if anybody hasn't seen that. It's a great film. And so, yeah, we're just trying to help out, bring some of these discussions and support some of these efforts in our community. We're lucky to have Lou as part of it. And we have also done some standouts and we do a Monday morning standout as sort of a little side project from that.
Wonderful, thank you. And since you mentioned Lou, I'm going to move to Lou now. Tell us about Deerfield Inclusion.
Okay,
Actually,
We were here last time. I think Suzanne
Oh,
spoke for us, so
so-
I don't necessarily need to.
Sorry, thank you for that. Daniel, you were not here last time, right? We can't hear you. Daniel, we can't hear you.
Yes, now you can.
Okay.
So I mute when I'm not speaking. Yeah, I'm the new chair of the Human Rights Commission, and it's been in slumber mode for several years. Those of you who live in or near Greenfield would know that, but we are reorganizing ourselves and getting ready to do a whole bunch of things this year, starting with the International Human Rights Day, which is December 10th. But I thought for this group, it might be useful to just take my minute and 50 seconds that's left and read the mission statement so that people can know what we are doing. The GHRC has been in existence for many, many years, and it works toward enhancing the quality of life in Greenfield through promoting understanding, appreciation, and respect. And it also promotes a positive sense of community and unity based on our similarities and differences. Provides a forum for the promotion of dialogue, education, healing, and celebration of diversity within Greenfield. It also investigates, mediates, and responds and reports to the community on allegation of human rights violation, including racial concerns. And it provides resources, directions, and counsel to those who request. Finally, our vision statement is consideration for human rights is integrated into every decision made in the city of Greenfield, and every citizen and resident is empowered to advocate for the protection of their rights and the rights of others. And we serve at the pleasure of the city council and the mayor, who is my direct supervisor. That's my time.
Very helpful, wonderful. What was the last thing did you call it a vision statement? That last piece?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been working on that the past year because it didn't exist.
Yeah, very good. So does that cover everybody? I think it does. Anna, I know that you were cut off in the during the last, you lost your connection during the last meeting. Did you have a chance to speak about Trap Rock? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
I was terrible. My connection failed in the middle. So I would just like to say that one thing we do and that I'm working on with others is to cover the many events around racial justice action and educational events in our newsletter. Racial justice along with peace and opposing sexism and working for climate justice as well are all part of our mission statement. They're on our website, and we're just really glad to be here and part of this. So do look at traprock.org. You can sign on to our free newsletter. It's twice a month, and contribute your events to it as well. So that's one thing we can offer and work on.
Great.
Emily is a member of the board of Trap Rock. So that's been a wonderful addition and motivating factor for us too.
Great. Good. Okay, thank you all. The next item on the agenda, the way it reads is it says, get guidance from people of color regarding priority issues to collaborate on. And as I said a few minutes ago, that and all the agenda items come from the brainstorm that we had at the end of last meeting. And I don't know who contributed it, not that it matters, but I don't know if there are any people of color in this group today. So I think I understand.
Ruth, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
As people think about that, I just want to get Kirsten, who just joined us a little bit late. Kirsten, you want to just welcome? Hi, good to see you. You want to just tell us, basically we introduced ourselves just by saying our name and the organization that we're involved with, connected to.
Thanks, Alan. I appreciate that. My internet just disappeared in the middle of, I think it was Kim's beginning, whatever. So my name is Kirsten Levitt. I'm the executive director and chef at the Stone Soup Cafe. It's a pay what you can community meal, welcoming people from all walks of life to share nourishment and learning for body, mind, and spirit. I'm also the co-chair of the Franklin County Hunger Task Force, the unofficial secretary of the Franklin County Resource Network, and a board member at Just Roots Community Farm. This month, as we approach the day of mourning, which most non-Indigenous people call Thanksgiving, the cafe has been on a 5-week-long, it'll go through the end of November, social media campaign to educate the general public about the ways Indigenous people approach Thanksgiving, both as a day of mourning or a day of tradition, and also promoting the real story of Thanksgiving in the first meeting. So we're continuing to do our anti-racism work on the ground and through social media and through our newsletters. And thanks for the opportunity to be here, Ruth and Alan.
Good to have you. Good to have you back and connected, Kirsten. So Ruth, back to you, and sorry for the somewhat rude interruption.
No, that's fine. Alan and I are co-facilitators, and this is a process, and I'm sure you're all familiar with it. So in terms of getting guidance from people of color, I think I recognize the spirit behind that. But I really don't know, how to deal with it, since we are apparently a group of white people, as far as I can tell.
So I'll just add that when Ruth and I were planning the meeting last night, and it's now your meeting, but what we decided was if there weren't any people of color, we would not talk about this agenda item. However, if anyone wants to make the case that we should be talking about it, please go ahead and do it right now.
I just want to say one clarifying statement. My understanding when that item came up in the brainstorm was either have more people of color at the table at this meeting, or as a homework item for us to start asking people of color, how can we be, what are the issues that we need to work on, and how can we of these issues for people of color, right? How do we show up that way? I didn't think we would pigeonhole the people of color in the meeting, ask that people of color to teach the white people what they, I thought it would be more, I thought it was more like a homework thing where we would start talking to our people that we are allied with and bring back. So I don't have a problem not talking about this. I'm just saying, I think the way it's phrased here doesn't capture what I heard at the original meeting. That's all.
Thank you so much. That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
Okay, so thanks. Yeah, thanks, Kirsten. So it sounds like people are fine if we move on to number 4. So number 4 was actually proposed by John McGee, who isn't here tonight. And he suggested using Slack to connect people and share important information, including dates and times for programs in the community, so that we would do our best not to plan Racial Justice Rising. We try not to plan an event at the same time on the same day that the Sunderland group is showing I Am Not Your Negro. Ruth and I know very little about Slack, and so anybody have any thoughts, comments about Slack or other ways we can stay in touch with each other digitally? Cheryl.
Yeah, I feel a little bit like that we're putting the cart before the horse. If we could, we want to be, what issues we want to be tackling or approaching. And do we have a future as a group or as a grouping of groups? And then see how we would communicate with each other. And I don't know about Slack myself. I'm not good at social media. Thank you.
Hey, thanks. Any other thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lou.
I think Slack could be great and could be an informal meeting space for us, like a place to just drop information to each other or say when we're going to be doing things so other people know. And after the last meeting, I hopped right on that Slack thing, but I haven't even looked at it since. I think somebody mentioned to me that they weren't able to get on, like maybe it had been disbanded or something. So if we're going to do it, it needs like some maintenance. And I don't know who would be able to do that. But I think if there was a dedicated bit of maintenance to a Slack platform and maybe some coaching for people who don't know how to use it, can actually be really lively and fun and like a great like kind of hub for us to like, connect.
Hey, thanks. Luke, could you just say, did you actually get a not knowing Slack, I mean, did you actually get a Slack invitation from John McGee?
I think while we were in our last meeting, he put up something in the chat and I just clicked on it then. And so I was able to get into the Slack, but I haven't accessed it since then. So I don't know if it's active or what happened. I mean, if John could send everybody's email a Slack invite, that would probably be a really efficient way to include everybody, and maybe just a brief how to,
Yeah. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. As far as Ruth and I know, I'm not being critical of John, I'm just being descriptive, is that he never did what you just said. He did put it in the chat box, but he never sent out an invitation to people. Kim, did you have your hand up? Yeah.
Yes, I did actually. I know at GCC, they are starting to move towards using Slack for a lot of meeting time. And it seemed like a really good platform for doing that. And I think, like you said, if we can get a tutorial on how to use it, we all maybe could look at it before our next meeting and see if it's something people would be comfortable using.
Thanks. Any other?
Anna
comments?
has her hand up.
Yeah, I have my
Oh,
little.
Oh, sorry,
I learned
Anna.
how to do that. No problem. This is kind of an old-fashioned suggestion, but we have a calendar on our website and we will post your events. And we really want to do that because we know how crowded different particular times of the year get. And so, please send it to us. You can send it to me, traprockinfo@crocker.com. Of course, we won't post everything, but your important things that you want to get out to the to a broader audience. We'd love to help.
Kirsten.
So I have a lot of musings here. And number one, I'm just going to ask the question. Is everybody here willing to add yet another communication stream to their already overloaded communication streams? My bias is showing. So that's my first question to you. You don't have to, like, just think about that. And number two, as much as I appreciate Anna and your wonderful offer, first of all, everything should be published, everything, in my opinion. And second of all, we don't have any agreements around not holding simultaneous events. So there are times of the year when things get very busy, and having multiple choices is not a bad thing, in my opinion. And so I just think that when we're speaking, we really need to think about being open and being streamlined. And maybe Slack is the right thing. I just happen to know after 3 or 4 years of trying it on and not liking it, that it's not for me. But if we all agree that it is, then I guess I'm gonna like it instead of lumping it, right? But I think that there's another thing here, and it actually comes later in our agenda, but it really is all about how is this communication that's happening now going to continue? Right? You know, who has the capacity to call meetings, or are meetings needed? Or, you know, how are you going to get enough critical mass of all the different people doing the work? Those are like essential seminal questions. And I'll just shut up now, but because I know we're going to get there, but.
Yeah, those are all very, very good points. Emily?
I think what I'm hearing, and I may be wrong on this, is that I think it is important to know what things are happening, even things that are not just racial justice programs, because we've been caught with 2 programs almost from racial justice at the same time, and people can get overwhelmed with this. And we really want to be able to reach as many people as possible. So I think having a calendar, that's what I would call it, a calendar. I wouldn't necessarily feel like there needs to be a dialogue group as much as a calendar, where as soon as we set up to do a program, we put it on that calendar, we go before we schedule it and even see, is that a good time? Is it going to interfere with something else that's major? You know, so I'm all for a calendar. And I would point out that several of the groups, not racial justice right now, but several of the groups I'm a part of have a Google group for discussion. So, you know, if there is a need to have an ongoing discussion from this group, you could set up a Google group and people can just click on that, and it would take all of us and send that message to us, rather than trying to, you know, set up a whole new thing that most of us, it sounds like in this meeting, aren't quite used to, and might have trouble getting to. And that's it.
Can I ask Emily, is there a calendar on that, the Google function? Because ours goes through several people. It's slow. It would be much better to have an interactive, quick one that everyone could post on.
I don't know. I don't know if the Google group has a calendar. I can ask. Greenfield does that. They have a discussion. FCCPR has a Google group discussion. So that's what I use when I want to send out messages to a lot of people. But yeah, that's a good point. And maybe under the Google groups, we could set up a calendar. I'm sure Google does it. You know, they do just about everything.
Okay, and unless, because of,
I just want to say one more little thing, Alan, which is I certainly hope that every every group here is a part of the Franklin County Resource Network. And if you're not, please join. I will put I will put the email address in the chat, because that network is specifically designed for all organizations, service and nonprofit, not individual businesses, but organizations to be a part of, to be in the loop. And we meet online every other week and share what's happening in our organizations. And I think racial justice is underrepresented there.
Kirsten, what was the name of that group?
Franklin County Resource Network. And if you have Mary McClintock's email, just send her one and say, I want to become part of FCRN Resource Net. And I'll put the email in the chat too.
Hey, great. Thanks, Kirsten. So unless anybody has anything compelling to say, I think we'd like to move on to the next item. This has been a really good discussion, and we will, as Kirsten and I think one or two others have suggested, we will come back to this when we talk about number 8.
Well, since I'm up now, I'm going to ask the group for some guidance here. I think a case has been made that for discussing the capacity of this group to continue to function, that a case has been made to address that before we discuss any other particular organizing issues. I want to get a sense of the group before we proceed. I'd be perfectly willing and happy to move to that last agenda item if that's the sense of the group. Anybody have anything to say about that? Cheryl already spoke.
Oh, yeah, I mean, does anybody object to doing that?
Okay.
I just want to kind of say, like, you know, this is a real tough part of the work that we all are passionate about doing, right? And I think it's important that we're recognizing this limitation, you know, and I think even if that means that this is a roadblock, it's still better than trying to organize on our own as white people to do things for racial justice. I think that there's something to be said about acknowledging our own place in this.
Thanks, Jeremy. So, okay, let's move then to 8, where we say that Racial Justice Rising does not have the capacity to initiate any more meetings of this group. Can the group members come up with a plan for shared hosting and agenda creation? And that, of course, presumes that the group wants to continue as an entity. So, you know, I'm listening to it. Who was the one? Kirsten, you just spoke about a group out of Community Action, right? That resource network. It doesn't have a focus on racial justice. Is that correct?
No, it has a focus of sharing information and networking with other organizations, and it doesn't preclude
Right.
social or racial justice. Its focus is to share information amongst organizations. And Stone Soup's been sharing loudly about all of the racial justice work we've been doing, and people have been responding. I think there's a place for groups to tune into that, or at least send all of their flyers, because if nothing else, it gets boosted throughout the network. And so people are aware of what you're doing, what you've planned, what events you're holding. Right?
Right.
I have a
So
question.
let me just say, Daniel, I'll give you the floor in 1 minute. Let me just say, go back a few months and tell you why Racial Justice Rising convened this group, okay?
That was my question.
Okay, great. Uh, um, we became aware, oh, I think we've existed for something like 8 to 10 years. I don't know, something like that. I've been involved with it for about 5 or 6 years. And we became aware that there were an increasing number of folks doing racial justice work in the community. And especially, you know, I guess it was a year and a half now at George Floyd's murder. It really became evident who, you know, that there were folks organizing around racial justice work. And we just felt we didn't want to be in a silo. We wanted to know who these folks were and ideally collaborating with folks. So we've really, that's been our, that's been a focus for us. So for example, we've done programs this year. We did one collaborating with Trap Rock Center. We did one collaborating with Cabilio, whatever the whole name of Cabilio is, I can't even remember. And we're looking for more opportunities like that. So as a result of that mindset, the idea of a gathering that I would identify, number one, identify who we all are, and number two, even more importantly, create a community that we could call on for support, for activism, for programs, for you know, calling out issues that needed to be addressed in the community. So that I think I'm representing our thinking adequately. However, why we word item 8 the way we worded it? We are 100% volunteer organization. We do not have the human resource capacity to do all the wonderful things we would like to be doing. And we just can't take this on an ongoing basis. Alan, do you want to add anything?
Yes, Ruth, I just want to add to what Ruth said. As during the process of finding out about the different grassroots organizations, we also learned about the Coalition for Racial Justice that was created by NELQUIT. I'm guessing about this, I would say a year ago, but it could be more or it could be less. And there are quite a few, they're almost all 501c3s as opposed to a number of groups. I'm just going to name two, you know, the Sunderland group and the Deerfield Inclusion Group, who are really just grassroots organizations. And Ruth and I have been in communication with both Juan Carlos Aguilar, who's the executive director of NELQUIT, and Leanne Lemaire from NELQUIT, who did come to the first meeting, about the possibility that all of these groups might join the Coalition for Racial Justice. Leanne is a paid staff member. She does other things than the coalition, but that's one of her significant projects. So we just want people to know about that in terms of an option to connect with. They're focused on a number of different racial justice issues, from Franklin County to as far east as the North Quabbin region. So that's another option. I mean, I think there are 3 options. One is this group sort of keeps meeting. Another one, it disappears, and or people join up with the Coalition for Racial Justice, which meets monthly, the third Thursday at 3 o'clock, right now virtually. So what are people's thoughts?
Well, I'll just say a monthly meeting is too much. A little, I would really appreciate something like quarterly forum gatherings, something like that. And I think Trap Rock, I do communications, you have the mailing list, I think we could take one on, something like that. I think would be really good to do in like late January or early February, looking ahead to March, the anniversary of George Floyd's murder, and that having maybe 4 a year. Anyway, I think that's something I think would be valuable.
Lou,
Yeah, I was actually thinking that exact same thing, Anna, like a quarterly, like the vision that you stated, Ruth, about, having us get to know each other and be resources for each other. It just like really rings so true and so beautiful still, as far as like the more we get to see each other and know each other a little bit in sessions like this, even if they're brief and not all the time, we are building community across our organizations. And I think if we could do a quarterly meeting, that would at least be something, like it's not nothing. And I think that would be really great. I mean, if Trap Rock could do one, like maybe Deerfield Inclusion Group could do one in June or July, or, like if we could each maybe take one, if there's only 4 a year, maybe 4 groups could plan to take one, and host or something like that. I don't know. I just think it's nice. There are a lot of other things happening in ways we could go, but I think that you started something here, Ruth and Alan, that might be worth sustaining, and maybe we should look at that.
thank you. Kim,
I, like Lou, I like the idea and Anna, of a quarterly time to get together, but I'm also intrigued by the Coalition for Racial Justice. If they are a working group that's well-established, hosts meetings anyway, and they're kind of doing some of the work we're talking about doing in this group, why reinvent the wheel? Is it possible to, bring this group into that group? And as Alan said earlier, including us that are grassroots folks and the temple and other places, that we could be part of that, just in terms of sharing information. I don't know the whole mission of that group, but I love the idea of us knowing what's happening and being on call for support, to expand our network, to say, hey, we're having this standout, we'd love to have people representing some of the other groups, as an example. And having one place that everybody can go. And I know Trap Rock does a lot of information sharing, and I think that's also a great place to share the information. But if the Coalition for Racial Justice is actually doing all this already, why not lend our energy there?
So I just want to say one thing about what the issue that Kim is raising. The Coalition for Racial Justice would be delighted if everyone joined them. Leanne and Ruth and I have communicated about this, and that would be great if that's what people want to do. And I know somebody else had Anne Marie had her hand up.
Yes, I was working with the coalition for a while, and then some things took me out of it. And there are grassroots people there already. And I was one of them. There were other grassroots people. We all voted as to what the focus was going to be. And I'm not remembering, one of them is policing, another one is racial justice, and I think another one might have been either food security, or I can't remember at this point. But yes, they want people there. You don't have to actually be working, but you can go to the meetings and listen. And if you want to join one of the focus groups that they have there, they would welcome you.
Oh, well, let's see, who hasn't spoken? Okay, don't put up your hands, don't put them down. Emily, hold on, I'm gonna ask Daniel and then come to Emily. Daniel. We can't hear you.
Mine's a quick shout out to support Kim's idea. If there's already a situation that we can tie into rather than creating a new one, it's less work for organizations and individuals who are probably a bit overwrought anyway, although that may be an assumption. And there's a structure for it. And I'm all in favor of using what's there rather than adding another cog to the wheel, and building strength through unity, and finding out more about how that works, and joining it. I think that's the simplest way if we want to really cohere as a series of communities and working groups and organizations. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Emily?
I'm tending to agree with all that's being said about the the Coalition for Racial Justice. And Alan, did you say they meet every other week? Twice every other week?
They meet the third Thursday at 3 o'clock.
So once
a month.
Okay, because that's the thing. I would love to find out what they provide. Maybe they have a calendar that we could tap into of what's going on, and then we could add things to that, or we could go with Trap Rock and let Trap Rock be the calendar. I think knowing what other groups are doing and when they're doing it would be a really good thing for all of us. I think it was Kim that said, why do we reinvent the wheel, and create another group when we already are, spread so thin over so many groups. And so, if there's a way to collaborate with this group, if they're willing to accept that we might not be there at every meeting, then I'd say that might be a way to go.
I have a question, and then I'm going to recognize Anna and Kirsten. My question is for you, Anne Marie. I didn't catch if you said how many meetings you went to, but I'm wondering if you had a sense of whether this group, the coalition, is a home for activists. And what I mean by that is one of the functions that we envisioned of this group is that we coalesce around actions in the community that we all agreed really needed to be addressed. Whether, it had to do with policing or education or some human rights violation. And I'm wondering if you think that this group is a forum for that.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because they did a lot of education, they did a lot of learning, all of that's been done by them. And now they're working toward, I haven't been to meetings recently, but they're working toward activism. And actually, the welcoming part of the coalition is that if you came there and simply asked that question, it would be accepted and that they would respond. And yes, they're working toward activism. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Did I say Anna and Kirsten? I can't even remember what I said. Did I say? Okay, Anna. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be quick. It sounds great. It's just, but it is an organization and they have task forces. I just thought a forum would be a different kind of touch base a few times a year. It's just it's a different form of networking. I don't think it's reinventing the wheel or doing the same thing as a group that meets regularly every month and has subgroups and all that stuff. So by all means, people should join it, and I would like to find out more about it too. But I still think a broader kind of touch base a few times a year is a different thing.
Yeah. Kristen?
So first of all, I put the information in the chat. And then Lou followed suit and put the same page up. So it's there twice for the page you go to. And I also put in Juan Carlos's email address. He is the co-executive director of NELQUIT. And he has been leading the charge on the coalition. And you have to write him in order to gain access to the meeting, to join the coalition. So the meeting's tomorrow. I just sent him an email, like, I'm going out of curiosity. And that means I'm crowbarring my day even further down than, I swear to God, it just doesn't end. I don't think meeting once a month is too much. But then again, I attend a lot of meetings because I think that attending lots of different meetings helps you network in a different way. And that's just how I'm built. I don't suggest you do it. I just say, this is what works for me. Again, while I think it would be interesting to have quarterly forums, I think that they won't be successful if there isn't a deep and meaningful intention and plan. And I don't hear the will or the capacity coming out of this conversation right now. You know, what I do hear is the will to have active actions happening. And until we check out what other people are doing, we won't know how active that is. You know, and there's many forms, there's many different ways to dismantle racism, you know, whether it's the grassroots level or the mid-level of city and state, or the national level where we unravel and shred all of the founding documents because they're all written by white supremacist assholes who had money and land, and that was that. So now you know my true thoughts on that one. So I don't think we should commit to a forum yet. I think if everyone has the will, after the holidays, we should have one more meeting. And we come back and say what worked, what has been working for us and what hasn't. And then make a plan if we need to make a plan. It might be the coalition's a great thing. It might be that what we really need to do is promote going to one another's actions, activities, and workshops. Like, I know I'm gonna start going to Surge workshops, and RJR, I haven't seen when your next workshop is, but you usually are doing them right when I'm working, which is why I don't show up. So sorry, right? But
Yes,
that's
Saturdays. Yeah.
it's Saturdays, and I'm making 400 meals, so it ain't gonna, that doesn't work for me. But I think it's important. I think it's important for us to immediately support one another, if nothing else, even if you choose not to have another meeting. Okay, I've said enough. I talked too much.
No, you don't. Everything that's been said is so valuable. Daniel?
One thing that might be helpful here is just, again, around the collaboration of the 5 or 6 groups that are here, which is just a smidgen of the larger sector, is I'd love to know when groups are having organizing meetings or information sharing meetings or whatever their meetings are about, because not only for me to drop in, but I'd like to get the other human rights commissioners invested in this as well. And I heard something about the Coalition for Racial Justice tomorrow and every third Thursday, but if there are other groups here that are having regular meetings that could be open to people from other groups just for sharing and hearing, I think that would be wonderful. So I don't know if there's a way to quickly do that tonight, or for someone to put that together. I'm not volunteering, but I would love to know if that's a possibility.
Well, speaking for Racial Justice Rising, before the pandemic, we used to have a regular program every, was it first Saturday? I can't even remember. Yeah, first Saturday. And now that we're virtual, it's not as regular. So you really have to follow our website or get on our mailing list, which is probably the easiest way. Just get on our mailing list. And Emily, you get on our mailing list through the website, is that correct? Or what's the easiest way?
Yes, you can, there on the website, there is an email address, at racialjusticerising.org. And when you go to that and send a message that you would like to be on the list, then we put you on our MailChimp list.
Thank you. Okay, I don't know how to summarize this. Alan or someone else. One of us.
Let's hang on, Ruth. Any other thoughts, comments? A number of different ideas have been tossed out, starting from the last one in terms of moving forward. And Emily, would you just put the email address for RDR in the chat box so anybody can pick that up? So one idea is, these are not, well, one idea is Kirsten's, which is to have one meeting after the holiday. Another idea is to go to the Coalition for Racial Justice, and anybody who wants to do that, I could call Leanne tomorrow morning, and I'm sure, or you can send an email, as Kirsten said, to Juan Carlos, and you could go to tomorrow's meeting at 3 o'clock if you happen to be free, or a quarterly forum. Those are sort of the options that I think are on the table. Yeah, Ruth?
I just want to be clear. I think you agree that these are not mutually exclusive
Right.
options.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I would love to see this group, convene again in 3 months and see if we could do it on a quarterly basis. I don't know. Anna, I don't know if you were volunteering. I don't want to put you on the spot. I truly don't know if you were volunteering Trap Rock to do that in the late winter. But
I think that would be, I don't think that would be a problem at all.
I think it would be great.
Not forever, but one, a meeting, I think would be good, because then we could see, it's basically what Kirsten suggested as well, right? If we do one in January, after the holidays, and then see who went to what meetings and what was, what's working, and maybe other people that couldn't come, other groups that couldn't come this time, but were represented last time, would like to check in. So I'll volunteer for that.
Thank you. And I do have a feeling that, or a sense rather, that other groups here are going to as well contact the Coalition for Racial Justice.
So other thoughts from people about Jeremy?
Just thought would be to, try to reach out individually to the people who had registered for our first coalition meeting, rather than, sending out, a reminder about the next one. Maybe somebody could just make sure that they get looped in again, right? Instead of using this contact list, make sure we're using and compiling a contact list of who has registered and what organizations have been a part of this. Because, they may have just had to miss this meeting for some other reason, and they're not trying to drop out. They're just they just had a prior engagement or whatever. So just, maybe putting in a little bit of effort with the contacting those people, either, sending a couple of emails, just checking in. We noticed that you didn't make it. This is the link to if you want to watch it. That whole thing, just, it might be worth the 20-30 minutes it takes to send a couple of those emails, just to make sure they're looped in and they feel like they can pick it back up, even though they may have missed one meeting.
And I wonder if one or two people would like to help me with that, because there were a lot of people I didn't know, and it would be very helpful if someone shared that outreach.
Well, Anna,
Anna, just to clarify, help you with what?
But Jeremy's talking about, I mean, this is really a bigger organizing thing than just calling a meeting, and I think he's absolutely right. But, I don't have time to do cold calling to 20 people on this, in other words, set up the Zoom. If we had a couple people working on this, that might take some of the work off your shoulders, in terms of a next meeting. And it would be very helpful. Because I just have a lot of, we all have a lot to do, so. If people know some of the people, there were some, a lot of great people that I didn't know at all. So anyway, if one or two people said, okay, we'll be in touch on how, a little prior contact, I think that would be great.
well, I'll recognize Emily in a minute. We have a mail, I've been the one who's been sending out all the notices about the last meeting and this meeting.
Right.
So I have the mailing list, and I mean, that's easy, I can, it's actually it's email addresses. Sometimes it's not, I don't even know the organization that's attached to the email address and vice versa, but it includes everybody who was at the last gathering and tonight. So.
Well, I have that from your emails. I
Oh,
just,
that's right. You have that, yeah.
yeah, I actually
Of
don't
course.
generally put all the ones in, but that's okay. But I thought Jeremy that was a little more of a personal outreach, which is different. If you're writing a message to individual people, that's more than just a big email. And I think it's good. I'm just saying, it'd be nice,
I think it could generally be a form email, though. I don't know that it needs to be super personal.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than having it just be an email that has 40 recipients on it, maybe
Right.
separating that list into the people who did show up and say, great, thank you for showing up, and the people who missed it and sending. But yeah, I think that, everyone is like hesitant to volunteer for that, but
Okay, then I'll do it. I know how to do,
well, I mean, it's just, it may take more coordinating to do
Yeah.
it among 3-4 people than to kind of just get it done.
Good. Thank you. That's.
But I don't think a form email would be the wrong way to do it. I think it's more just about, not having it be 100 recipients, and then people see it and they go, oh, okay, I missed this. I'm not going to read this.
Good point, Jeremy. And I totally cop to the fact that I don't even know how to construct an email like that with blind carbon copies. So, but I'm capable of learning that. But Anna, thank you. Thank
I'll
you
do
very much. I
Wanted-
told you our capacity is limited.
Right. Do you want to look at a couple dates? I mean, like, or weeks or something? Second week of January, something like that?
I think you better be really careful, because a ton of events start happening between the second week and the third week of January in honor of Martin Luther King.
Oh, of course, of course.
And so, you got to be super careful Not to be too
After.
technical, not to be too technical, but it would be actually really sweet if we could have all the email addresses and send out a little calendarly poll. And I would be really happy to volunteer my assistant Jansen, who knows how to do that, because if I don't know how to do it and I don't have time to learn it, I know how to delegate. Uh, and just kind of poll people what would be a good date and time for them, because then that's like you're not shooting in the dark, right?
Yep.
You're
And with
actually respecting time. Go on, Anna.
No, Kirsten, excuse me, just to do it afterwards and kind of summarize, could be useful, like where do we, next steps. So if your, assistant could help on that, that's great. I have no problem doing multiple emails and stuff. That'll be okay.
Emily, I apologize, and I know you've been trying to get in, please. Emily?
Okay to do it. Okay, Anna, if there's some way I can help with this too, I would do it, but that's not what I wanted to point out. I really looked at one of the purposes for this group was when there is a really bad issue like we have right now in the Greenfield school system. And I'm going to be talking to Daniel because my way of looking at that, after I painstakingly listened to the last school committee meeting and all of the teachers and the parents who stood up and said, this has got to stop. This has got to change what's going on in the middle school and the high school. And I was hoping that Racial Justice Rising, certainly it's an issue we should take on, because a lot of it is racially motivated. And I was hoping that would be something that we could say, like I wanted to say, if anybody is interested, I'll send you the link for the recording of the committee so you know what they're saying. I mean, these parents were practically in tears. And so I would like to know, is anybody else besides the racial justice group interested in helping us to, put some, not pressure, but, go to the school committee or whatever, Daniel, you think would be the best way to approach this. Because I think it needs to be addressed. And that's what I thought maybe the bringing together of our groups like we're doing would be something that we could all say, okay, yeah, I mean, if you'll be in tears when you listen to what these parents are saying. And it's not just one parent. It was at least 12 parents and then 3 teachers and an instructional aide, all saying that it can't go on. That, and they were just giving their comments at the school committee meeting. I couldn't stay till the end. I just couldn't listen anymore, but I'm going to go back to see if the school committee, which they were addressing, gave them any idea that they were really going to do something about it, and I took notes of what the school committee says, and they're going to do a restorative practice training on equity and racism for the staff. Well, it's actually not the staff right now that's the problem. It's the students who are acting up, throwing desks around, calling people names, and the N-word has been used a lot according to the parents. And so anyway, I will stop going on about this, but that's what I had sort of hoped was going to be a possibility from bringing we who care about racism and doing what we can to stop racism from happening might say, okay, yeah, let's organize around this school situation that has been going on. It hasn't just erupted yesterday. It's been going on for months.
Okay, Emily, I hear you. And yeah, well, there are 2 people who want to respond. So Daniel first and Kirsten.
Thanks for raising that, Emily. I mean, I've heard bits and pieces, but I don't have the whole thing tied together. And I would like to be able to share or have you come and share to the next meeting, which is on December 6th for the Human Rights Commission. Because I have a sense that people don't really know in any depth what's been going on and for how long and just how deep it is. So I would appreciate, sidebar, if you can send me whatever, just to me personally, and I'll disseminate it if it's open to doing that. And I'd like to see if we have the resources on our commission to see if anyone else is interested in learning more about this and in taking some piece of it on. I can't speak for the whole commission, but I certainly can construct the agenda such that either if you wanted to come in and be a guest speaker for it, or I give a report back about it, I would like to see that happen in December. And since
Great.
I have
Daniel,
control of the agenda, I want to offer that.
Great, that's wonderful. Can you put your email in the chat, and then I will send you the recording of the school committee meeting, and that will give you a lot more detail, than I could. I tried to take notes, but anyway,
Okay.
okay,
I will
And
put that in right now.
great.
And I would also like to make a suggestion to Daniel, that on December 6th, Greenfield Racial Justice be part of that meeting, that they be asked to present as well, or maybe in conjunction.
I'm
with
sorry, I made a
racial-
typo, so I had to.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What's the
Well,
second one?
Emily can tell
Could
you.
you
about
repeat that?
Greenfield Racial Justice.
It's Daniel C.
Yes, and the second one is correct.
Okay,
Sorry about that. But what was the suggestion? Sorry to intervene.
That Emily, on behalf of Racial Justice Rising, coordinate with Greenfield. What is it called, Emily? Greenfield?
It's the Greenfield
Human
Human Rights
Rights.
Commission.
No, the racial justice group in Greenfield that was part of our first gathering. Emily, you know the name of them. Help me.
Which one? The Coalition for Racial Justice?
No, Greenfield Racial
oh, great,
Justice.
Greenfield Racial Justice.
Yeah.
That's what it was, the one with Brianna and,
Yeah, well, Brianna was not the one who was at our first gathering, but it's a grassroots group in Greenfield, very concerned about education in the Greenfield Public Schools. And I would just hope that they could be part of the December 6th meeting. That's all I'm saying.
I know some people from that, it was the first group that erupted after the George Floyd grassroots group. And I know Catherine Gulab from that, and I'm going to, communicate with her as well. Do you know her, Daniel?
I do not personally know her, no.
No, she's been very active in this.
I'm
Thanks.
all ears and would love to include whoever, Emily, you think would be useful to speak about it and inform the commission. I'll
Okay,
make time for that.
so we if we just wanted to come to the meeting, if someone just wanted to come but not actually speak, unless it was appropriate, that's okay too.
These are open meetings because of the Massachusetts open meeting laws. They're open and they're on the Greenfield Human Rights Commission website and on the city's website as well.
Okay, great.
Yep.
I want to move on, Kirsten. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I just, first of all, Emily, as a retired school teacher, this is one of the things that had me retire. And I want you to know that. And that this is not just Greenfield. It's all over. And that when I started my teaching career, I started in Greenfield and I watched racial inequity enacted in person. And I fought about it. And that's 25 years ago. No, 23 years ago.
Wow.
So this is a hugely ancient, broken system that does not serve anyone. It doesn't serve the public. It doesn't serve the teachers. It doesn't serve the students. And it doesn't serve the administration. And the old boy network that exists here in Greenfield, but also in Gilmontague, needs a rewrite. And honestly, these children, they're not at fault.
Right.
It's the system that's surrounding and supporting the children that isn't working. And the lack of trauma-informed awareness, and whatever they're suggesting as a workshop is bullshit.
Yes.
I'm sorry. You're gonna go out and train me again?
Well,
No.
I hear you, Kirsten, and I know we're up against a big wall, but I'm, feeling like I want to try and climb that
I'm
wall.
with you. I'm with you. I'm just saying, like, to give you some perspective, for
Mhm.
23 years, it's been like this. And from being Gloria Matlock's friend, what she went through last year in February, the first day of Black History Month, when the 2 children of color were called upon to finish the hangman game.
Yeah, well, Gloria is the one who's put, sent the link to me for the school committee meeting. So she's real concerned and definitely wanting to try to see, I mean, we might be on the edge of the cliff where we can, get them to jump into a different ball game.
So I just want to say something here, and then Anna, and then I think we have to figure out where we are at this point in time, 10 minutes before our adjournment. So I just want to really thank you, Kirsten, for that perspective. It's the culture of the school system. It's not the students, it's not the teachers, it's not the administrator, it's not the Board of Ed. It's like you're saying, who does it serve? And what is the culture that's being perpetuated? And the kids are reflecting that culture. And so it's really important that we are clear on what we're asking for. And I also hope it's not training, diversity training. So let's see, who did I just say I was going to recognize?
Oh,
Anne? Thank you.
I just wanted to say that there was an election, November 2nd, with a new slate of, 3 progressive people coming in on the school committee. So, and the Franklin County Continuing the Political Revolution supported them. They have an education task force. So I hope they're part of this discussion too, because they've been quite involved.
Very good point.
Maybe there can be some change. Hope so.
Yep. Okay.
I'll just say I have a few friends that are teachers there at the middle school, so I will just do my best to get the skinny on what's going on, and
Great.
report out or do what I can on that, so I'll do my best on that front.
Thank you.
Jeremy, would you communicate with me on what you find out? Because there were teachers talking at this also. So there's a lot of stuff that I know it's been an ongoing problem, but it's erupting.
Yeah,
And
I will
takes
check in
courage.
with them.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It
Kirsten.
takes, I'm sorry, Jeremy. It takes courage for a teacher to stand up to their employers.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, it really seriously that they came forward and they spoke. Watch those teachers to see if there are repercussions, because that's the way the system works. It's nasty.
That's
nasty.
something I would want to know. And I did take down names of the people who spoke, and 3 teachers spoke.
Mhm.
And there, it's a big question mark. Are we going to bring a security cop in for the school? And some say no, some say yes. So, I think it is something we need to get ourselves involved in.
And the other thing is that there's a huge discussion on Facebook about this. Huge. It's all over in different pockets of Facebook about that, including the recorder articles, because there were 2 days in a row reporting on the incidences, and then the meeting, and then the incidences. So it's out there. You guys can educate yourselves beyond what this conversation is.
Kristen, is someone who is not socially networked at all. Could you tell me how I could find that on Facebook?
If you, well, if you're not on Facebook, then
I
you
am
might not
on
have, oh, okay, so look at, there's discussions in Everything Greenfield and, there's discussions with Bobby Campbell, Bobby C. Campbell. There's discussions with, I think it's Progressive Greenfield. And if nothing else, go on to the recorder, Greenfield Recorder page on
Right.
Facebook, and you can see discussions happening there too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, Alan. We're coming to the end of our time together. Can you summarize the actions that we've agreed on? Or can we try to do it together?
Yeah, we can try. I'm not, well, okay, I'll try. So one action is that people who want to are going to go either to this month's or to next month's Coalition for Racial Justice and check it out and see what they learn and see how it feels. There's obviously going to be a lot of activity around the issues that we just talked about regarding the Greenfield public schools, including people going to the next Human Rights Commission meeting. Anna is going to host a forum. I would say, given what Kirsten said about January, it might be better to do it in February. But that's, I like, and also Kirsten volunteered Jansen to send out a doodle poll or something like that to see what works best for people for the quarterly meeting that Chop Rock has graciously volunteered to host. People have agreed to sort of stay connected and keep supporting each other and let people know about activities and programs that each organization is doing. And I think I'll stop there.
Well, I'd like to add one provisionally. I want to ask you if you agree with it. That you and I, on behalf of RJR, send out notes for this meeting and a statement of what you just elucidated, the 3 or 4 or 5 decisions that we made. So can we agree to do that?
Yeah, we can do it, but it might be better. Well, yeah, I mean, we can do it, or yeah, we'll just need to coordinate with Anna. Yeah, Anna, you
Okay.
raised your hand.
Do it,
Yeah.
I think very briefly, I think you did it very well, but let's put in the links that were put in the chat to the different, to the Nelquit group and to Daniel's group. If these are open meetings, this is already very helpful
Mhm.
to have those links,
Okay.
the notes. Yeah.
And did I hear you say that you were going to share the email lists with both myself and Anna?
Anna pointed out that you have them.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
I
have them
have-
because they're not BCCs.
No.
No, but we can. No, they're all there.
Oh, it's all
so-
there. Okay.
Although Anna, I would actually like to double check with you because sometimes I realize I left some off, and so I do supplemental ones. So I'll touch base with you to make sure you have the.
I prefer to send a list of organizations and not a mass of addresses. But those are details. We can figure that out.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for getting the ball rolling, and for Kirsten. So everyone, very good comments. Thank you.
Cheryl, did you want to say something? We can't hear you.
I just want to put in a plug for RJR's next program because it was brought up before that we do have programs, although not as regularly. And it will be on a Saturday, but at 1 o'clock, and that may free Kirsten up to be able to check it in.
Just being
I don't. But
I would
it's,
wish.
it's about a genealogy and racism, and the presenter is a person who is using his own history of trying to trace his ancestry and how he has to look into all the probate records of white families to find his ancestors. Anyway, I think it was a very powerful learning experience on December 4th at 1 o'clock. So this whole group, I hope, can get that announcement. Some of you already are on that, our MailChimp list, but if it's okay, I'll ask Alan or Ruth to send our flyer out to everybody. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're ready to wind up. I guess I just want to say that sort of building on what Luann said about an hour ago, that we've accomplished something already because like we know each other. Here we are in this virtual room. And I only knew a few of you before. And I do miss meeting people in person. I miss it very much. But this is second best. And all the people from the first gathering are now in our network. We're all in this network together. And so at the very least, what we've accomplished is created this community that we can build on and draw on and connect with and work with. And that's great. That's great. So let's move forward in the multiple different ways that we've identified and in the potential ways that are going to emerge, I'm sure. And I thank you one and all for being part of this and for showing up. Anna?
Oh, mhm.
Just thank everyone. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Bye,
Well
everyone.
done. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Nice meeting you. Yep, take care.
Ruth, I just sent you an email with the chat
Uh-huh.
so that
Oh.
all those links to the emails and stuff like that are, in there.
Oh, great.
That's to cut out some of the nonsense there, but at least that's saved. And it's I just sent it to you. So if you need to forward it to Alan or Anna, you can do that as well.
Will
But
do.
all those links are in there.
I will do that tonight. I will forward it to them and we'll figure out where to go from here. Yeah.
All right, great.
Night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jeremy. Good job.
Bye, Alan. Thank you. Next time.